أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ورضي الله تعالى عن سادة التابعين وعلماء العاملين وأئمة الأربعة المجتهدين ومقلدين إلى يوم الدين أما بعد Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah, the Lord of the worlds. We send peace and blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and upon his family and his companions. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with the masters from the Tabi'een, the right acting scholars, and the four mujtahid imams. That's referring to Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, and Imam Ahmed, and all of those who follow them until the day of judgment. Ameen. Alhamdulillah, we are slowly going through the Aqeedah section of the book ul-Bayaan fil ulum allati wajabat al-A'yan, which translates to the supporting explanation on the sciences obligatory upon every individual. This is one of the basic books used in the curriculum to teach the student the individual obligations, or you can say the bare minimum that is needed to know for every responsible person. And this text covers the individual obligations in the area of the Islamic belief, also called Aqeedah, as well as the outward practice, also called Fiqh, and the spiritual matters, also called Tasawwuf. Once again, it deals with the bare minimum that is necessary. Alhamdulillah. And so we're in the first section of that book, of this book, and we are in the section, or in the portion of the section of Aqeedah or Islamic belief, the creed, called Ilahiyat. Ilahiyat translates to divinity. So in other words, we are in the section of the Islamic belief that deals with those things that we have to believe about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are other things that fall under the category of Islamic belief, but we're in the section which deals with those areas, or that area of belief that is specific to Allah Himself. And that's why it's called Ilahiyat, divinity, or those things which relate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself. And we spent about, I forget, 3 or 4 classes dealing with one small yet pivot, extremely important aspect of that, which is Allah's attribute of Mukallaful lil Hawadith, Allah being different than his creation. And we spent a lot of time dealing with that because it is in this area that a lot of deviations and misunderstandings have crept in to the Islamic belief in our part of the world and during our time period. Alhamdulillah. And so today we are going to move on to the next attribute mentioned in the book. But before I move on, I just want to return the salams to all of you. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abdul Bar, Imad, Isa, Hafsa, Kenny, Abdullah, Anisa, Zakaria, and Samira. Alhamdulillah. Let's recite Al-Fatiha for the soul of the Shehu. Alhamdulillah. I just want to mention, and this is in connection with, as we said, the attribute that we've been covering for the last several days, Mukhaliful lil Hawadith, Allah being different or opposite than his creation. And I love the way the Sheikh dealt with it in his book called Usuluddin. This book right here, which means the foundation of the deen. This book contains everything that the Aqeedah section of this book contains. Except this book is not dealing with any proofs or anything. We added proofs to it in the footnotes. But this book is very, very small. I mean, really, in type, we could have made this book literally like 3 pages. It's as thick as it is because of the footnotes and the appendices that we added to it and the introduction. But he says, that he is mukhalifun lil hawadith. ما هو بجرم ولا صفات للجرم ولا جهة له ولا مكان له بل هو كان كما كان في الأزل قبل عالمي. He said that he, obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is distinct from things which came into being. In other words, he's different from his creation. He is not a body. He said, Ma huwa bi jurmin. He's not a body. Wala sifata lil jurmi. And he doesn't have attributes of a body or of bodies. Wala makana lahu. No. He says, Wala jihata lahu. He says, he has no direction. He has no direction. So Allah is not above or to the right, to the left, to the front, to the back, or definitely not under, right? He has no direction. You can't use those things to describe Allah because he's different than his creation. And this next attribute that we're going to mention today is kind of like, for lack of better words, a continuation of that, right? But in any case, no direction, lahu. Wala makana lahu. And there is no place for him. So Allah is not in heaven. He's not on the throne. And so we don't have the Aqeedah or the belief of the Christians who place God in heaven. And I don't even remember the whole Lord's Prayer, in Christianity, Lord's Prayer. But I remember in my parents' house, the house that I grew up in, there's a little wooden, I don't even think it was wood. I think it was plastic, but it was made to look like wood. And it had the Lord's Prayer on the dresser. And I see it in my mind right now. I see the dresser. I see the mirror connected to the dresser. And I remember it said the Lord's Prayer, Our Father, thou art in heaven. In other words, said in New English, you know, they gave the attribute of Father to God, and they say that He's in heaven, right? We don't have that belief. We don't believe that Allah is in heaven and the devil's in hell and they're struggling and fighting against each other. That's not our belief. There's no, as the Shehu said, there is no la makana lahu. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We prayed already a few days. He said, there's no place for him. So whether you say in heaven, above heaven, or in a non-created place, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but there's some Muslims who say that to try to get around this point because they have to there's so many contradicting tenets or rules or methodologies in their belief system that in order to make all of them make sense, they have to say things that make no sense. Like, no, no, it's not. Allah is not in a created place, but there's an uncreated place, and He's in that place. All right, man, whatever. I'm Muslim, but if I wasn't Muslim, I'd be asking you if I could smoke some of that good stuff that you smoking, right? Right. But there are people that say that, right? Right. But you know, it makes no sense. But the reason why people can continue and proceed along with that bad belief, because at the same time they train not to think. It's what the text literally says. I know it don't make sense to the intellect that Allah gave you to use, but don't use it during this sense. Just accept it the way we telling it to you, right? Not accept it the way Allah intended it, but accept it the way we telling it to you, right? And believe it. So this stuff makes no sense when you actually dig into their arguments, right? And so the Sheikh said, "Bal huwa kana kama kana fil azali, qabla al-alim." He said, but rather he is as he was, and he used the term fil azali, which is before he created anything, when it was only Allah, right? So he is fil azali, which we translate here from the eternal past, right? Before the world, before the creation of the world. So Allah doesn't change. And again, this goes back to what we've been learning. Allahu mukallifu lil hawadith. Allah is different than His creation, right? Because in this book, Usuluddin, this is what he explains under that. So again, one other note that when you hear someone describe Allah with change, I'll give you an example. Sometimes things aren't translated properly, and they translate it literally, like saying Allah laughs or Allah gets angry, right? So like Allah, wait a minute, Allah, he, he manifesting his ghadab upon you. It don't mean like ghadab, like ghayrul maghdubi, same root word. Those who have Allah's wrath. That can also be translated those who earn Allah's anger. It don't mean it like that, like, you know, like a human being. I'm happy with you. Now you did something. Now I'm mad at you. That means my emotions changed. I went from a state of being pleased with you. Now I'm angry with you. This is not proper to say about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why I said if you understand what was mentioned yesterday, it's the same understanding that you use to apply to everything with regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, you know, so a lot of these things we have to, you know, tweak our understanding. So, you know, Allah's mad, He's angry, right? You know, I remember when I was little and it would thunder outside, right? God is angry. The Lord is angry at you, right? Ooh, like, and I remember when I used to go down south with my grandmother, right? Like they were serious about that. You know, turn off the TV, right? You know, now I'm in public school learning about lightning rods in the house and all that kind of stuff. Like it's going to hit you, right? Turn off the TV, unplug everything in the house, the alarm clock and everything, and just sit still. God, the Lord is angry. right? We don't have that belief. You know, Allah is not angry. He's not emotional. He's not having a temper tantrum and he's throwing down lightning bolts and stuff like that. No, that's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah doesn't have attributes that require change. Like, okay, he was one way, and then he created the creation, and so him and his attributes change. No, there's no change. He is the way he was before, before anything, right? So that's important to understand. Well, alhamdulillah. So that's what the Shehu said about Allah as being different from his creation in this book right here. Well, alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of you who joined in later, such as Ali Mateen, Nadim, who is also here in the flesh, alhamdulillah, Hassan Ali, Khadija, Hakeem, Malika, Sakina, Khadija, Miss Joanne. Glad you're here, alhamdulillah. Make me smile when you're here. And Muhammad, alhamdulillah. May Allah reward all of you, alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, Samira. How is you?
Wa alaikum salam to Malabi Captain.
I said, how is you?
I'm here, alhamdulillah. Can't complain.
I have a question for you. Why every time you come on, you got to switch the screen and all that stuff? The mic button don't work? You got to touch all the other buttons? I mean, what's going on?
I'm still having technical difficulties. I'm still trying to figure it out.
This long-going, day
Ongoing.
in and day out technical difficulty. Oh, okay, sister. Alhamdulillah. See, sisters don't never want to take responsibility. See, accountability is a curse word to these sisters. Let's start the argument. Alhamdulillah. Are you ready? Inshallah.
Yes, I'm ready, inshallah.
Okay. Start at the top of page 14. In other words, read point 4 that we've been dealing with for these last few days, and then read all the way through point 5.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما الحمد لله وكفى والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected shaitan. May Allah bless our master, Sayyidina Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, companions, and give them peace. All praise is due to Allah, for he is sufficient for us. Peace be upon his slaves, whom he has chosen. As to what follows, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone. And wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone that has given the greetings. I do want to, before I begin reading, I do want to remind everyone, although we are streaming from the Imam's personal page, Masjid Mu'min's page, and YouTube, most of the comments are being made on the Imam's personal page. So if no one is responding to you, it's because they cannot see your response. No one is ignoring you. We can see the comments, but if you're not with everyone else, they will not see your comments. So if you need to come on over to the Imam's personal page and socialize, you're welcome to do that. I just wanted to put it out there because I noticed people come in and they give the greetings and it's like crickets. That is the reason why. So I'm going to be reading.
On that note, I want you all feedback at some point or another, but I'm thinking of at some point in the future, instead of directly streaming on my personal page, I'm thinking about directly streaming on my public page, because I have a public page too. My personal page is just my name, Naeem Abdullah. My public page is Imam Naeem Abdullah. So I'm thinking about switching at some point to the Imam Naeem Abdullah page, because on the platform that we use, which is StreamYard, like I can type, but it won't go to my personal page, my Naeem Abdullah page, where most of you are at. So if I intend to do that, I'll let all of you know, and I'll still share it to my personal page, but it won't be. If I make that move, I will still share it to my personal page, but it won't be streaming directly to my personal page. It will be to my Imam Naeem Abdullah page. That's if I make that announcement. And so I think that will make it a lot easier, because StreamYard, like the way I type in the comments here, right? Y'all won't see it in the chat. The only way y'all see it in the chat, because I'm also I have my personal page open on my phone, and I can type it on my phone and y'all can see it there. So, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So instead of being redundant, I'm thinking about streaming directly to my public Imam Naeem Abdullah page, so that uh, so that it'll be more seamless, inshallah. But I'm not going to do that right now. If I do it, I'll announce it and keep repeating it, inshallah. And I haven't made up my mind if I'm going to do it or not yet. If y'all think that would be better, y'all just let me know, inshallah. Bismillah.
Bismillah. To answer Sister Malika's question, this is one of the intros. Is it the Shehu or his brother, Abdullahi?
I didn't understand her question. What is she referring to?
My intro, I say it 3 times. Yeah, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
I don't know. You say it. I don't know.
It's part of the intro. I've said it so long. I will give you the source of that, inshallah. You're not helping me.
Hey man, you said it. You got to be accountable. I forgot it. I don't use that particular intro.
Okay.
I can tell you where I get my intros from. That's your intro.
We don't care about your intro. Let me stop. We're going to start on page 14 on the top. He, the Most High, is unlike Bismillah. He is the Most High, is unlike and separate from in-time creation, Mukallaf lil Hawadith. And the proof of his difference and separation from in-time creation is his omnipotent power over its creation. He, the Most High, is number 5, entirely self-sufficient, Ganiyu, beyond place and designation. And the proof of his self-sufficiency beyond place is the impossibility of place being described by attributes of meaning and of meaningfulness. And the proof of his self-sufficiency beyond designation is the permanence of his before-timeness, kidamihi, kidamihi, kidamihi.
Alhamdulillah. So this next attribute, you can go to the board for a second, inshallah. The next attribute is Ghani. Can y'all see that there? Ghani, number 5. Ghani, usually it's when the word or the phrase is applied to human beings or creation, it means rich. It's the same word, Ghani. And that's the same word that the ancient state, African state of Ghana comes from, which is where the ancient empire, rather, or the Khilafah, the Ghanaian Empire, that's where that comes from. And also, and that's where the modern country, Ghana, gets its name from. And it was given, one of the reasons the scholars say that that place was given that name is because the amount of gold that was there once upon a time. And one of the Arabic words for gold is guani, which comes actually from the same word. They just put a W. Well, alhamdulillah. But when this term is applied to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it doesn't literally mean rich or, like wealthy. It means independent, free of need of others. That's why we translate it self-sufficient. So Allahu Ghani, Allah is self-sufficient. In other words, he is independent. He is free of need of anything, anyone, anybody, or anyone else. Yes, Khadija. She said, is it the word Ghaniyu? Yes. Yeah. Most of the time, in many African cultures, how we normally, when we use Arabic words, we usually, if we at the end of a sentence or if it's someone's name, we usually don't pronounce the last vowel. Like most of us, if someone's name is Abdullah, we say Abdullah. But there's a kesra under that H in Abdullah, right? So a lot of Africans will say Abdullahi, right? It's the same word. We just keep the vowel on it. Right? We don't say Khadija, we say Khadijatu. Or sometimes it's even Khadijatu, right? It's Khadija, Mariamu, right? And on and on and on. Aishatu, Asma'u, instead of Asma, Asma'u, right? In the African culture, most Islamic African cultures, you leave the vowel on the name. So like I have a daughter, Asma'u. Mudaf Mudafi ilayh, for my name, Abdullahi, exactly. That's what, when Abdullah Isa said Mudaf Mudafi ilayh, this is an Arabic construction, the something of something. In other words, something owns something. Like yesterday, we spent a lot of time on the phrase Yadullahi, right? We said Yadullah, I was dropping off the last vowel, but that's in a dafa relationship. Mudaf, and like Yed is Mudaf, Allah is Mudafu ilayh. Mudafu Yadullahi ends in Kesra. And that's a sign, that's one of the alama, that's one of the signs of that relationship for all you Arabic grammarians, inshallah. So Abdullah is the same type of construction, the slave of Allah. And because it has that construction, Allah has to end in kasra, it has to be mahfud, or say it another way, it has to be majroor, it has to end in kasra. So you're not going to find in the African culture where they keep the vowel on, it, you're never going to hear it said Abdullahu or Abdullaha, because that's improper grammar. It's always going to be Abdullahi. Because Allah, in the name Abdullah, Allah is Mudafu ilayh, and Abd, or the slave, is Mudaf. Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Allahu Akbar. May Allah reward you. Alhamdulillah. So this attribute, Allahu Ghani, before we get into the proof that the Shehu mentioned in this book that our sister Samira read, can one of you tell me, this is a pop quiz for y'all, can one of you tell me what type of proof did the Shehu mention in the book? After he said, as we translated, he the Most High is entirely self-sufficient. What type of proof is that the Shehu mentioned? What's the name of the type of proof? Anyone can answer. Anyone here, anyone there. I said, what type of proof? Or just grab Arabic words floating around your head. Listen to the question. What type of proof? I said when it comes to Aqeedah, Islamic belief, there are two types of proof that are used to establish these attributes. And I said in this book, the Shehu, he only mentions one type of proof. But for all of these attributes that I've been giving you the other type of proof as well. Alhamdulillah, Sister Mālikī gave the answer. I'm waiting to see if any of you here, your brothers, know if you're going to get it. Sister Mālikī gave the answer. I'm going to put it on the screen for y'all. Nah, man. You're not answering question, man. Okay, she said she gave the transliteration. What does that mean that she put on there? She said dalil aqli. I said, what type of dalil? And Malika said dalil aqli. What does that mean in English? Dalil aqli. What does that mean in English? Okay, give me the whole phrase. Dalil aqli. Here come Anissa with tafweed, man. Listen, man, all of you get in the corner. All of you get in the corner. Where the stick at? Here come Malika with the English translation. Alhamdulillah. And Sufyan. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Are your brothers paying attention? No, man. Are your brothers paying attention? Dalil al-Aqli, what that means is intellectual or rational proof. Both translations are good. Malika said intellectual proof. Abdullah Isa said intellectual proof. And also Sufyan, he said rational proof. Both of those translations are good for the Arabic dalil al-aqli. Aql, intellect, right? Dalil, proof, right? Or evidence, right? Intellectual or rational evidences. So in this book, for every attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? He gives, after he tells you what it is, he tells you what the rational or the intellectual proof is. I've been giving you, on top of that, just one proof from the Quran. All of these attributes have many proofs from the Quran. So I just been giving you one. Dalil Aqli. See, I understand why you don't know, because you normally be working. Yeah. You translated one word. In Hausa is Ankali with an N. Ankali. So when you say in Arabic, that's what Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. So in Hausa, Dalil, how would you say it? Hausa is the same Dalil. Dalil Ankali. Dalil Ankali. Ankali. Subhanallah. So alhamdulillah. Y'all learn some Hausa. Arabic Dalil Aqli and Hausa Dalil Ankali. Yeah. Yeah. There was, when I moved here the first time, there was a brother who started Hausa classes up. Do you remember who that was? He was teaching Hausa. He ain't go nowhere with it. It was only a few classes, but he was teaching Hausa. We had him teaching Hausa. It might have been Abu Bakr. Oh, okay. Alhamdulillah. So the proof, okay, so y'all got it now. So write that down. I already gave it to y'all. You got the board up. I'll put the paper back because I did write it down before. Did I write that down? Maybe I wrote it on the board. No, maybe I wrote it on that side of the board. Maybe I erased it. but I remember writing it. So write that down. Dalil Aqli, which means intellectual or rational proof, right? Okay, what's the other type of proof? What's the Arabic phrase for it? The Arabic phrase. I'll write it on the board again. Well, maybe I should write it on. Maybe I should write it on here so I can go back. I'll write it here. I'll write it on a sheet of paper.
And you did write it down, so I wrote it down.
EEIY.
The other one is, I mean,
Someone that has to know this is back to that day. I wish you have no winter. That's a curse that you go like this.
So everyone said Dalil Naqli. Right? Dalil Naqli. And what does that mean? Isa answered it first. Textual or scriptural proof. You found you had it in your notes already? Yeah. The key to learning, remember this, the key to learning is memorization. And the key to memorization is repetition. So the key to learning is memorization. And the key to memorization is repetition. So when you learn something, you want to repeat it a lot. So you repeat it a lot, that means you memorize it. Once you memorize it, then you don't have to worry about trying to figure out what it is. You already memorize it. Now you learn it and break it down and get deep with it, right? So always remember that. A lot of people, we like to skip. We like to understand something, get deep with it first, but can't remember it. Repeat it a lot, so that you memorize it. And then once you memorize it, obviously you know what it means, and then you can get a deeper understanding with it. And that's a beautiful thing about teaching, because the teacher is also learning. he's going over the information again because he hears it before any of you, before the students learn it. And if he's preparing for his class, he's learning it again because he's in preparation for the class. So it's repetition. So I'm benefiting from this just as much as you are. It's just getting more firmly written in my my being. So if you've been paying attention, for each of these attributes, the Shehu is giving us Dalil Aqli, but he doesn't mention Dalil Naqli. There are other books that I mentioned, like they have the same first word in the title. He has another book, Umdat Mut'abidin, which mentions all of these things, but instead of Dalil Aqli, he gives Dalil Naqli. And there's another book that I mentioned before called Umdat Ulama, which means the support of the scholars. He does the same thing. But in that book, he doesn't only give Dalil Naqli from the Quran, he gives Dalil Naqli from the Quran and the Sunnah for these same things. But in this book right here, he just gives Dalil Naqli. And in this book right here, he doesn't give any Dalil. The book I showed y'all before, Suluddin, he doesn't give any Dalil. He just tells you what it is. And when you learn Islam traditionally according to a method, that's normally how you learn. You don't learn with a whole bunch of proofs. No, you just memorize what it is first. You repeat, you learn, and especially if you're a serious student, you memorize what it is. If you're just trying to learn your Fard Ayn and then you're not necessarily going to be a student or training to be some kind of teacher or scholar or anything, you just learn enough to understand what was given to you, right? You don't learn any proofs. Us in America, because Islam has been given to us like yesterday I gave the parable of like a crackhead contractor or a crackhead, auto mechanic, right? That's how Islam has been given to us. So it's kind of like crazy. So a lot of us don't even understand what a proof is, and we'll ask for a proof, right? Like there's a famous story. I forgot which sheikh it was, but it's one of the popular scholars from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at. It happened someplace in California, and somebody came to the sheikh's class and was like, "What's the proof for this? And what's your isnad for this?" The person was like a Wahhabi influenced person, right? And the sheikh said in Arabic, I forgot exactly what he said in Arabic, but it kind of like translated to, I heard it from my moms, who heard it from the plumber, who heard it from the carpenter, who heard it from the dishwasher, who heard it from such and such, right? So the sheikh said that, and the dude who was like, "What's your proof? What's your isnad and all that stuff?" He was like, "Okay, alhamdulillah, barakallah fi sheikh." So the dude left like, "Okay, yeah, the sheikh gave me proof, right?" And the sheikh said, "See, what I just told the brother was heard it from the mother, heard it from the uncle, heard it from the dishwasher, heard it from the carpenter, heard it from this, that, and all that kind of stuff." But yeah, you sitting here asking me for proofs. You don't even understand the proof if it was given to you, right? And so, a lot of us are like this, and it's kind of like sad that that we're like this. So the point that I'm trying to make is that normally when you're learning traditionally, you just learn what it is first. You learn what's proper, what's not proper. And then at the next stage, you may learn the same exact information, but you may learn some commentary. And that commentary, you may have some proofs for it, right? And then, you come back around and you learn the same thing, same information, maybe from the same book or another book covering the same information that has a little bit more detail. In other words, it's a gradual buildup. You don't just come off the top. You never heard the thing before, and then you learn it, and you know all the proofs for it. It's just the Islamic methodology of teaching don't work like that. Alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sali. So the dalil or a proof of this attribute, you can write down chapter number 47, verse number 8, where Allah simply says, Wallahu ghaniyu. Allah is ghani, He's independent. And like we said, we're just giving you one of many proofs that the scholars use. 47:38, Allahu ghani. Allah is ghani. He is independent, self-sufficient, or richly independent, however you want to translate that. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My beloved brother Abdul Rahim, coming straight out of the cornfields. You know, every time just in case y'all don't know why we say that, right? We say Abdul Rahim straight out of the cornfields because we was with him when we went to Wichita, Kansas. He lived in Kansas, right? And he's showing us around and stuff like this. And me and Imam Fahim was joking, right? Like he's telling us about the hood, right? And so both Imam Fahim was thinking about what's that movie, In Too Deep? Where was they at? They were somewhere in Ohio. But what's the dude? Omar Epps, that was undercover police. He was saying, I'll be, getting money out in Akron. And he was like, Akron? What y'all dealing Akron? What your corn dealers out there? Y'all dealing corn in Akron? They got drug dealers in Akron. So we would say that about Wichita, like, hood, gangsters, drug dealers. What you got corn dealers out here? And so that's why we mess with him when he comes on live and the internet go out. There's the cornfields. He messing up your internet reception. Alhamdulillah, I'm good, Sali. Alhamdulillah. Omar Epps, he comes from a Muslim background. His father was Suleiman Epps. He's from Masjid Taqwa, rahimahullah. He just died like a couple years ago. When I was at Masjid Taqwa, people know me as like a teacher or a khatib or whatever. But at one time, I was on the payroll of Masjid Taqwa. My official job was the janitor, right? And so when I left that job, he took over the job. So if anybody that knows Masjid Taqwa from like 1999 on up to when he just died is 2021. I think he might have died in 2019 or 2018. I can't remember. If you been in Brooklyn at Master Taqwa, the brother he got when you see him, when you think Umar Epps, if you look at him, like, yeah, that's his pops, because they got the same big eyes, right? He had like a bad back, he will be hunched over. That's Umar Epps' father. Yeah, that's Umar Epps' father. If y'all know him from Master Taqwa, his brother Suleiman. I forgot his government name, but anyway, everybody know him, brother Suleiman. If you've been to Master Taqwas for any time there, you know him. But I never had a conversation with him about that, like, because he used to get mail at the masjid when I was there at one time. And I remember the mail came, and I looked at it, and I seen the last name Epps. And I was talking to another brother, and he was like, yeah, you ain't know that's Omar Epps' dad? Like, no, I ain't know. I ain't never met you. I never had a conversation with him like about it. But I know right around the time his dad died, Umar Epps spoke about it, and he didn't speak too good about his pops. So I don't know what that relationship was like. I know for me, when I just found that out, I knew where he lived at. He lived like a block and a half from the masjid, like one studio type apartment and stuff. Like, even back then, Umar Epps was known. You know, the movie Juice had been out like for at least 10 years by that time, right? 5, 10, something like that, right? So I don't know. Uh, I never asked them. Maybe the brothers at Taqwa that knew Suleiman better than I did may have some more information, but I never spoke to him directly about, hey, your son Umar Epps, what's up with the relationship? I never had that conversation with him, but the brothers from Taqwa may know. Well, alhamdulillah. Yeah, but so that's what we digress into the Master Taqwa and Umar Epps because of Durahim from the cornfields. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So where we at? He says, وَأَنَهُ تَعَالَى غَنِيُّ عَنِ الْمَحَلِّ وَالْمُقَسِّسِ, which means that he, the Most High, is entirely self-sufficient, ghani, beyond place and designation. What's kind of like meant by, place is obvious, right? Now, Allah is free of place, right? No, because creation, right? Creation, I don't care what you think of it, creation needs a place. Name something that you can identify that don't exist somewhere. It exists somewhere. That's part of creation. Creation needs a place to be. It just don't exist without a place. No. Only Allahu mawjood bila makan. Only Allah exists without a place. If you creation, you exist in a place. You exist in a place. So I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's not even tangible. It exists someplace. Like even our soul, right? Our ruh, right? You can't see, smell, taste it, or touch it, but we know from the book and the sunnah that it exists in our bodies. And when we die, the soul leaves our body. When we sleep, the soul leaves our bodies and comes back, right? So we know even the ruh that you can't see, smell, taste, or touch, it exists in a place because it's from amongst the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah is free from needing a place. And designation is like the doer, like better words. And I looked at different translations. It's hard to translate this, what we're mentioning here, without even where I translated. If you look at how many lines, how much space is taken up in English compared to the Arabic, is real wordy, because designation is more like creation, like you need a creator. Like if something has attributes or meaning, someone gave it that attribute or that meaning. And that's basically what he's saying here. He said, the proof of his ghina'ihi, of his self-sufficiency beyond place, is the impossibility of place being described by attributes of meaning and meaningfulness. In other words, Allah is the one who gives meaning, descriptions, and all of these things. And places, if Allah couldn't be in a place, obviously, because he created places. And then he says, and the proof of his self-sufficiency beyond designation is the permanence of his kidamihi, which is the attribute that we mentioned before, Allahu Qadim, right? The proof, in other words, the proof of his the proof of his self-sufficiency beyond designation is the fact that we already stated that he was before time. So in other words, Allah is before anything. He is the first, without firstness. In other words, there's no beginning for him. And so Allah, no one can give Allah his description or designation because there's nothing before him. He's the one that gives descriptions and designations. And Allah, in other words, again, Allah is free of all of that. Everything requires someone to give it a description, to put it in a place, to give it its qualities and all of that stuff, right? It doesn't do those things itself. It doesn't bring him itself into creation and then describe itself with all of these things. No, it takes someone outside of it to do it. So in other words, all of creation is dependent on those things which are outside of it to give it those qualities. So obviously no one can give Allah those qualities because Allah is the first. He is the thing outside of time and outside of all of these things. So in other words, he's independent of all of these things. He doesn't need all of these things. Alhamdulillah. So that's the attribute of Ali. I keep saying Ali. Allah being Ghani, being independent. It don't mean rich. It means being independent of of creation with regards to giving it its description. In other words, Allah's attributes aren't dependent on creation to describe him. No, Allah tells us about himself. He's not dependent on creation to figure it out. No, he tells you about himself. Walhamdulillah. Samira, would you like to add anything?
No, not at this time. Alhamdulillah, I figured out my situation. Alhamdulillah.
You figured out your situation?
Oh, I know. I wanted to add. You was talking about mudaf ilay. The way to identify it is that the first noun in the phrase will not have an alif lam in front of it, and it will end in alif.
My little Padawan.
It will end in dhamma, kesra, or fatha, and then the second noun will always end in kesra. So the first part of it is the possession, and the second part is the possessor. So when you say a Baytullah, Bayt, the house, belongs to who? Allah. That's the possession and the possessor of it. So that's how you can look at it. I had to look that up because we had that conversation. So alhamdulillah, I feel like I learned something today.
Why you had to look it up? Why you ain't just ask?
I already asked. I just wanted to do some further.
Nah, man. No, man. No,
research.
Man. You supposed to be fakir. I'm supposed to be the toxic man, narcissist. You're not supposed to get no knowledge other than what I'm giving you.
Nah, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. MashaAllah.
You need to take this
just because
the way
you
I'm
said
giving
it
it
don't
to
mean
you.
I have to
You understand?
take it. No.
And listen, that knowledge that you just kicked right there, you need to forget that. And when I teach it to you, then you know it.
Okay. Okay, Master.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, everything she said was correct. Alhamdulillah. No, don't start with that stuff, Malika. 3 points for the sisters. Nah, y'all don't get no points for that. Alhamdulillah. Tonight, I want to remind y'all that our Half Your Deen show, we're going on live at 8 o'clock, so that's in an hour and a half. And this weekend, we'll be in Philadelphia for our annual meeting with our brothers over there, helping them in their endeavors to establish Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat in the city of Philadelphia. Yeah, alhamdulillah. So we'll be there at 11 p.m. as the flyer says. We're gonna be there at 11 p.m. as the flyer says at night, right? And if nobody else is there, then we just gonna be there. Now we're gonna be there at 11 a.m. inshallah to 5 p.m. So if you're in the area, please come out, inshallah. He said, my name should be Abdullah, but when I was born, my father spelled it with an A. Alhamdulillah, it's all good. That wasn't a slip of the tongue, intentional slip of the tongue when I said Wahhabadelphia. Everybody's dead now. They just being flooded and inundated and drowned with Wahhabism, and that's the situation there. Alhamdulillah. Let me see. Yes, inshallah, I intend to stream live, inshallah. I intend on streaming live. Usually when I travel, I bring my tripod with me and my phone. So if it ain't no bad cell phone service there, I'll be streaming, inshallah. And I believe we were there before. So I believe the cell phone service is good there. So. Any questions about these 5 attributes that we mentioned so far? And when we get to the end of this section, I'm just going to give you the Arabic terms for their opposites, just because we're going to talk about what's mustahil. Anybody remember what the word mustahil means?
No.
I say, man, the people online is starting to answer, and there's like a 20 or 30 second, sometimes it's even more than that. Sometimes it's like a 40-second lag between when it comes out of my mouth and the people online can hear. So you mean to tell me that, wait a minute, even Abdul Rahim from the cornfields, he got it through the cornfields. The question made it through the interference in the leaves of the corn, and he was able to get it and answer it before you got it. So mustahil means impossible, or to put it in this context, is intellectual impossibility with regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So remember, this is repetition, and it's extremely important. When, for example, when Imam Ameen gets back around and he starts teaching Aqeedah again, or from one of the books of Aqeedah, or either Sheikh Waleed, get in those classes. Don't say, oh, I learned Aqeedah, from Umdat to Bayan, so I don't need to learn it again. No. Sit in the class again, because you're going to hear these same words, and maybe it didn't click when I explained it, or maybe you hear Imam Ameen explain it, or Sheikh Waleed, or whoever else from Ahlul Sunnah is teaching it, and maybe the way they explain it, I click. But the seed was already planted because you heard it here. Or maybe you heard it from Imam Ameen, and then you're in this class, and maybe it didn't click, and I explained it my way, then boom, it clicked. That's another way, the repetition, the same information over and over again. Look at it as you have some sheetrock there, right? I love the parables. I have some sheetrock there. You don't just put the paint on it, right? Because the sheetrock is going to absorb all the paint, right? You have to put primer on the wall. You could equate in your mind that primer being having a proper adab and mannerism with regards to seeking knowledge. You're not being distracted. You show up on time. You have respect for the books, the pens, the pencils, the teacher, everything connected with knowledge. You have reverence and respect for it. Your notebook, the textbook, everything, right? And so you look at that as the primer. Because what does the primer do to the wall? It makes it so that the wall itself don't absorb the paint, and that and that the paint will really show. It won't, like I said, it won't absorb it. It's right on there. But even if you use primer, most of the time you're going to have to use more than one coat, right? To get the color that you desire. So just look at this like you painting your wall, right? Okay, maybe this is your first time sitting in an Aqeedah class from the perspective of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'at. Look at that as the first code. And maybe Sheikh Walid or Imam Ameen teaches it again. That's the second code. But our parable is not even that. We don't have a brand new, fresh sheet of sheetrock. We got an old wall with paint already on there. The paint was produced by Wahhabi Paints Incorporated, right? So we need more than one coat of primer to make sure we cover up all that paint. Or maybe it's lead paint. We need to get the paint off the wall, right? The Wahhabi creed, that's lead paint. If you ingest it or you breathe the dust of it, or you eat, like my child, like some of my children, I told you, I was talking about my son, Umar, who's deaf, right? Two of my children got lead poison. And if you never ever had children that went through that, because like children, when they're getting older, when they starting to walk or whatever, you got old windowsills and they grab on the windowsills. And if it has old paint on it and they taste it, it tastes sweet. That's what makes little kids like it. And lead, when you eat it, when it gets into your body, we know it's toxic, but your body thinks it's iron, which is necessary for your body. So your body wants to absorb it. But like say if your child is eating it, right, and you go to the hospital and they do I think it's the X-ray. Yes, the X-ray. When you do the X-ray and your child's been eating lead paint, that lead that's sitting in their stomach will glow. And that's what happened with my children. When they went to the hospital, it was glowing. Their stomach was glowing. It's odd. They've been eating lead paint. You know, obviously based upon their height, you know, they're getting it from the windowsills. And so, and so, and like and so they give you something to make you go if it's still in your stomach to get it out your stomach. But then, you know, if it goes through the digestion process, that means, you know, it goes into your bloodstream, and then from your bloodstream, it gets into your organs and then to your nervous system. So this is why the medical professionals believe they can't say with absolute certainty, because my son's air physically, inside and out, is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. They think it was so bad with him that it got to his nervous system and it affected the nerve endings that transmit sounds from the ear. That's why he can't hear. So, nah. Yeah, he was so young when it happened. So the whole point I made the parable about the paint, a lot of us have bad creed, right? So it's not enough just to put the fresh paint on it. Sometimes you may have to scrape the wall, right, of this Wahhabi lead paint, right? Get that, all of these things that induce us to give Allah attributes of his creation, make Allah like his creation. We have to, you know, put on the hazmat suits and put on the ventilators and scrape and get, you know, contain the area and get all the lead paint out and all that kind of stuff. And then put the primer on. And then put the first coat and the second coat. So I'm saying all of that to say that depending on who we are as individuals, right? We got a lot of scraping to do. A lot of our belief system, a lot of aspects of our belief is toxic. We thought it was Islam. We thought it was healthy when we put it on the wall or when we learned it, but it's not. So we have to get it up out of there. And then we have to put the primer on. In other words, we have to be focused. We have to concentrate. We have to take good notes. We have to, you know, show reverence. We have to do all of those things that produce knowledge and safeguard knowledge. We have to ask Allah. The one du'a that Allah teaches us in the Quran, where we ask of more of something, is knowledge. Rabbi zidni ilmi. Or our Lord, increase me in knowledge. Rabbi zidni ilmi. Increase me in knowledge, right? So we have to make those type of supplications. We have to do all of that. We have to do all of that stuff. That's like the primer, right? And then each coat of paint, that's like the amount of times that you learn the lesson, you go over the lesson, etc., etc., etc. Abdullah Isa said, Wahhabi is lead paint and 12 of Shiaism is Ebola. So, don't ever skip out, especially in this environment that we live in. Don't ever skip out on an Aqeedah class, because there's going to be something that I glossed over, that I didn't get too deep with it. Well, maybe Imam Ameen may get deep with it. And so, repetition is not going to hurt you. Or maybe you didn't catch the phrase or the term when I said it. But when they said it, you'll catch it. And the beautiful thing about any subject is that, alhamdulillah, it's all Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at. So, what's in one book, the next scholar is going to be saying the exact same thing in another book, except it may be worded different. And that different wording may help you understand what you already learned from the first book. Because this is Aqeedah. So, and we just learning the bare minimum of the Aqeedah. So ain't no difference of opinion on that in Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at. So you ain't got to worry about, like, for example, just to give you an obvious example, it ain't like fiqh where, the Malikis, we pray with our hands by our sides, but if you sit with a Shafi'i scholar, he's not going to teach it that way. You ain't got to worry about all that. And even that example is really like a bad example, because in no school of thought in the basic books is it even mentioned where to place your hands in the prayer, because it's not one of the fara'id of the prayer. It's definitely not one of the conditions of the prayer. Is not one of the sunan of the prayer. Is not one of the fada'il of the prayer even. So it's such a low issue with regards to importance, where you place your hands at in the prayer, that you'll be hard pressed to find a basic book of fiqh that's even going to mention where the hands go. Yeah. Yeah.
If we in Africa, like you was in Gambia,
Right.
we don't see too many people, I believe, from Gambia or whatever, with hands down, Assalamu alaikum. Mainly you see it in Nigeria. Even Ghana, you don't see too many people. But mainly in Nigeria.
I see it a lot in Gambia and in Senegal. I see it mainly away from the big cities. In other words, like better than I do, usually a city or a town or a village, their methodology is usually based on whoever founded it, whoever was the sheikh of the place. So if he was Maliki and all that, that's what they're going to do, right? But in the major cities, especially the tourist areas, whoever got money, whoever built the masjid, and that's what they're doing. And a lot of those places are being affected by Wahhabis as well. So, alhamdulillah. So there's no questions, right? Alhamdulillah. Some masjids have placed a big deal about where you place your hands. Yeah. I remember when I first started praying with my hands to the side. This is about the year 2000. This is in the year 2000. And so, remember, I'm Maliki now, yeah, right? So one of the first questions I ask, I want to know the dalil for praying with the hands to the side. Anybody come at me, I'm coming, right? Right? So I memorized one of the proofs, right? Now I remember me and some brothers, we went into a masjid. We were kind of like passing through, and one of the brothers is one of those type of masjids that is not open, right? But if you know somebody that got the key, right? You can get in and pray. One of the brothers we was with happened to have the key to this masjid, so it was time for prayer. We were in the area, so we went there to pray, right? Now, I'm not from that city or from that state, so I don't know who's who and what's what. So while we were in there, some other person came to pray. And I happened to be the one who's leading the prayer. And so after the prayer, and this brother, I don't remember where he was from, but he was from East Africa. It could have been, I just don't remember. It was either Ethiopia or Somalia or Eritrea or someplace. And so, ended the prayer, Assalamu alaikum. I was praying my hands to the side. Ameen was silent and everything like that. So, I'm a new Mālikī, right? And so the brother humbly asked me, he said, I see you pray with your hands to the side. I just wanted to know why you do that. What's the proof? I said, and I be who made it. Even a Saudi, but I'm narrating in Arabic, right? Whatever. He said, and I'm translating line by line. He said, what was it? Whoa. He said, he said, no, alhamdulillah. I ain't asked you for all that. I would just want to know if you know what you was doing. I'm from Africa, and I know people do that. I just wanted to see if you was doing blind follow, whatever. But I don't have no problem with it. I said, okay, alhamdulillah. Because, people be coming at us, so you got to be ready. So I had my dalil right here, right? I was ready to give it to him. I was ready to break it down. Such and such scholar said about the hadith, this and that. I was ready to go at him. Because this is the environment we live in. It's like in Africa, it ain't like that. I pray at a masjid. One person right there pray with his hand by his side. Another person pray with his hand right over left. The next person, it's no big deal. Nobody gonna ask you about all that. But over here, it's like you a major deviant. You blind follow Imam Malik, and he prayed like that because his hands was dislocated, and all types of myths that they got from certain books, that they got from certain books, right? Or what are you? You a Shiite? That's why you pray like that, right? And so it's like a war. You gotta, to even pray, you gotta come to the masjid like this. All right, what's up? About to pray with my hands to the side, right? Walaikum salam rahmatullah. Man, you got, and here it's like everything is beef, right? If you're not smashing your foot next to mine, right? Even standing awkward, that little bone that stick out right here, just grinding that into my foot, whatever, you a deviant, right? And so, some people, they go and they pray next to people, praying next to certain people. The dude will move their hands from the side and move it right over to the left, right? Or will grab his pants leg and move his foot. You're real interested in that brother's prayer. You better not do it to me. And they better not do it to the wrong person. Because if they do it to the wrong person, they may get punched in their face. Well, a lot of times they know who to do it to, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Umar, your son,
Yeah.
I was standing the same song where he can hear.
Right.
So, and this told the baby ones and this one, they all both sold again. So if you play, it's really sensitive when you.
When I was locked up, right? And when I think of my son, I remember I had so much wax in my ear one time that it completely blocked my hearing out of one ear. Just completely blocked my hearing. And I think it was on a holiday weekend and all the nurses was going home and stuff. And it messed me up. Like I could hear, but one ear was completely blocked. It messed up my balance a little and everything. And I was like, it was like a Friday. It was like a holiday weekend. You in prison, right? So, well, one of my teachers, alhamdulillah, may Allah reward Brother Zachariah, right? He was cool with some of the civilian staff, and he got one of the nurses to call me to the infirmary to flush my ear out, right? That day, well, alhamdulillah. And so your ear, it ain't got a lot to do with a whole lot of other stuff more than hearing, including balance and stuff like that. So when I look at my son, number one, he don't know his strength. He's very strong, right? And a lot of times you can see he walking like like you may walk past you, he may brush against, because his balance, the hearing got a lot to do with the balance. He don't have that. And so I always tell him, like, ooh, calm down. You don't come rushing in, because you like a 18-wheeler. Yo, chill. so like, he don't know how strong he is. And I be telling his siblings, y'all keep messing with him. Y'all don't know he gonna hurt one of y'all. Don't mess with him like that. So yeah, so the point is, some of these cats, even to come pray in the masjid, right? These people, they don't know no Islam. They just heard that this is wrong and this is right because these handful of so-called scholars said so. And so when they see something that's different from that, they'll disrupt their whole prayer just to adjust your hands or your feet or whatever like that. Anybody that learns how to pray in congregation according to a traditional school of thought know that it's not mandatory for the feet to touch. It's mandatory for you to touch, meaning the shoulders. And if you stand naturally, that's what's going to touch when you stand next to each other. The shoulders are going to touch. But no, they got to have your feet pressed, and they base it once again based upon a literal understanding of a hadith. That understanding is based upon a hadith, but their understanding of the hadith is not consistent with what the scholars of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat had laid down or what the Sahaba had laid down. So, so they think, foot, it's just crazy, and mashallah. So he said, yeah, I had a dude try to test me today at this halal joint. I went to on my lunch break. Dude was like, "You Muslim? Nation of Islam?" I just looked at dude like, "Bruh, Ahlus Sunnah." And then he sized me up and embraced me afterwards. LOL. He was like, all types of Muslims come in here, and I get a lot of Nation of Islam families, etc. I just said, they are Muslim, and I don't associate with them or the ideology, shaking my head. Not too many of them are walking in with a West African style kufi, etc. That's us. People are weird. You could pray next to a person, and he'll look at you like, "Hi, are you Muslim?" Like, what? You know how offensive that is to Black people, African Americans, who already got issues with being accepted and looked down upon? SubhanAllah. Yeah. MashaAllah. So, alhamdulillah. Another thing that killed me is, if you know a little bit of Arabic, a lot of their Arabic be trash. You speak Arabic, they act like that you speak in French. Huh? Like what? Like what? Negro, you know what I said, man. Don't act like my Arabic is that beat up that you don't know what I'm saying. Try to play me, man. Yeah, that's life in America. Amongst the Muslims. SubhanAllah. Yeah. But another thing about us, right? We got issues internally and externally. Like, don't be around a brother that think he knows some Arabic, right? He gonna correct you before the word leave your mouth, right? He got to prove to you that he knows some Arabic and you don't, right? Or like you may be leading Salat, and a brother that think he knows some Arabic or think he knows some Quran, and you make a mistake in Salat, he won't even give you a chance to correct yourself, right? You may recognize that you made a mistake, and he'll subhanAllah, right? He'll come in and correct you, right? Right? And he don't even correct you properly. He'll just mention the mistake you made, but he don't correct you properly by like going back a few lines or to the beginning of the ayat so that you can catch yourself. And he don't build you from that way. He just correct what the mistake that you made wrong, right? Like Hassan Ali said, that's what they're waiting for, the mistake, right? Whereas the same person could be reciting Quran in the presence of a Hafiz, right? And the Hafiz who memorized the whole Quran or who may know Arabic fluently won't correct you. Because he knows you're making a whole lot of mistakes, but he's not going to correct the minor problem before he corrects the major problem. And so that's our internal issue. You got a cat that think he knows something, and he'll come in with his cape on, super tajweed, right? I come to correct every fata dhamma kasra. No kalkala will be left unechoed, right? He'll come in with all of that, right? I mean, thinking about these people because Hassan, he said they be waiting on you. They do. They literally be waiting on you. Like they upset that they ain't leading us a lot, right? Right. So, not really. I don't see nobody here. I'm just about in general, right? Right. Especially in places like Philadelphia, another slip of the tongue, right? Right. So, he upset that he ain't leading. So you leading. So now you the bane of his existence. So he there listening. It's not alhamdulillah. Oh no, you messed up. You didn't bounce that see brother. See, this is called the kawkala. See the ba had a sukoon on it. So you're supposed to bounce it. Alhamdulillah. You know Arabic. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I want to make an announcement. This brother right here, he knows Arabic, right? Is that what you want? Everybody acknowledges you now, right? You happy? Come on, Ak, why you playing? Nah, it's just a costume. It's comfortable. I ain't trying to. Oh, okay. Alhamdulillah. So, alhamdulillah, I'm just kicking it with y'all. Alhamdulillah. No one had any questions.
So when you salam to the right, officially salam over. So I was home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked another brother, young brother, very young. I said, Shehu Uthman, like that's his nickname. I said, salam to the right. He said, ask someone. This is what the leader did. He said, ask someone when they're offering salam, and they say, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, right? So they're going to the left, and then they pass gas. I said, the salam is in or not. So officially, once you salam to the right, it's over.
There's no scholar or no student of knowledge or no basic elementary person that knows their Fard iron will argue with the fact that in any school of thought, once you say Assalamu alaikum, that is a position in Salat, and it's called Khuruj min as-Salat. It means leaving the prayer or exiting the prayer. After you say that kum from Assalamu alaikum, you are officially out of your Salat. In other methods, we say Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah and all that. That's extra in their school and all of that. But even in those schools, all of them will tell you the salat is over once you say Assalamu alaikum. You are officially out of salat. You are out of your state of ihram. You know, like ihram when you make hajj. You have an ihram when you make salat. Takbiratul ihram. The opening takbir, where you go into, the state of salat. Once you say the kum on Assalamu alaikum, your salat is over in any school. But most of us don't learn that. So if you've been in America and just for y'all information, like if I'm leading salat and the people are not familiar with me and I don't know, and I'm thinking, and in my opinion, they don't know, I may say Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, because a lot of people don't know. Yeah, if you say to some people Assalamu alaikum, they'll be sitting there in salat like, okay, what do I do now? Uh-oh. They'll be sitting there, they'll be like, I don't want to look up, but where the rest of it at? Why is the imam getting up? This is what he said to himself. Hey, what should I do? Help! Right? Yeah. So if I'm in a place And I think the majority of people may not know or be confused or what have you. I'll just say, I'll do what people are used to, because don't matter. Once you say assalamu alaikum, your salat is over, right?
Right.
Right. Even when I first came back here, if y'all remember, when I came back here to be the imam, when I used to pray by myself, I would say assalamu alaikum and all that kind of stuff. But when I would lead the salat, I would say it a little bit. Then I gave a couple of khutbahs about it. And then I announced in the khutbah, okay, this is the last time you're going to hear me say assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. Yeah. So, because I try to educate people first. Because, my intention, I don't want you to have a question mark next to your worship. Because I know you don't know, and all that kind of stuff. I don't want you, and a lot of people are like scared to ask or what have you, and they may be walking away like, is my salat valid, or do I have to pray again, and all that kind of stuff. So I like to kind of like remove that, in other words, I'm thinking about them, right? So I try to remove that from them. All right, so we're going to get out of here. May Allah reward all of you all for 15 said, so assalamu alaikum to the left ends of salat. No, assalamu alaikum to the right. When you say assalamu alaikum, and in the Mālikī school, by the way, look at me. In the Mālikī school, when you do the salam, you don't turn your head all the way to the side. You turn it slightly. And you actually start the turn on the kum. Assalamu alaikum, slightly, right? You know what I'm thinking of?
Already knew you.
Huh? No, I've seen it in New York. I've seen it everywhere. And it's usually, I don't know why. I seen it when I was up north. I don't know, but everybody I seen do it, I think, been up north before. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. When I see that, I'm like, what is that, a W? Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. I don't know where that comes from. So the answer for Teen's question, right? We just having a good time. If the class is finished, y'all. But the answer for T's question, right? According to all schools, when you say assalamu alaikum, even if you're saying wa alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, when you get to the alaikum part, you are officially out of prayer. Even if you say assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, right? Even if you do that, that's all good if you do that. But you are technically out of salat once you get to the first salam on the right, and it's assalamu alaikum. Like I said, you start turning when you say the kum, right? Assalamu alaikum, right? That you're out of salat. And again, in the Mālikī school, we don't turn our head all the way like to our shoulder and all that. We just turn it slightly. And I think, I'm not sure in the other schools, but in the Mālikī school, I'm not going to go into that because we're going to get to it in the book. But sometimes a person makes 3 salams, depending on where you at in the rank. In our school, you're not giving salams to the angels. It's not understood that. If you're the imam, you're saying assalamu alaikum, and boom, you're out of salat. If you're praying behind an imam, you're going to say assalamu alaikum to the right, and then you're going to turn your head straight again. And you're going to say it to yourself when I say silently or inaudibly. You're going to say assalamu alaikum again. And the intention behind that salam is to return the salams to the imam. So you're not going to say wa alaikum salam, no, but you're going to say assalamu alaikum. So you're going to say, it's going to look like this. Assalamu alaikum. If someone's praying to your left, right? So you're praying behind an imam, and there's someone also on your left. It's going to look like this. Assalamu alaikum. You're not going to turn your head to the left to say it, but you're going to say it a third time. And again, it's mentioned in the books, inshallah.
Do you have to do the whole three? Is it necessary or
What you're supposed to do is sunnah to do the additional two. But if nobody's on your left, then you would just do 2 salams. If someone's on your right, then you do 3 salams. That usually makes people like, what, 3 salams? Yeah, 3 salams. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, may Allah reward all of you for coming to class. You really motivate me. Today, my spirit was kind of down because I know a lot of people who like to do other stuff on days like this. So when I seen people coming to class, I was like, Ya Allah, alhamdulillah. Yeah. Man, super. It's still on. Go ahead.
for a Muslim, right? We don't believe in Thanksgiving. We want to give dawah. In on our holiday, we give the dawah, give the food, even the Muslim, right?
Right.
But how can a Muslim give the Muslim thanks? Are you know, like encouraging them for that? Or you just,
I don't know. To answer your question, being Muslim 30 years, when I took Shahada, it would be hard to find a Muslim that openly celebrated Christmas, Thanksgiving, their birthday, New Year's, Valentine's. Muslims didn't do that when I took Shahada. And back then, like, people had knowledge, but it wasn't like a technical knowledge. The thinking at the time was like, that's what the disbelievers do. We're not doing that. It wasn't no high, deep level. But now, to me, it seems like every holiday celebration, because people like to play games. They like to play word semantics with the term holiday or celebrate or recognize or observe and all that, whatever term rocks your boat, right? Just to me, it seems like every holiday or observance or celebration or recognition, right? Every one of them, the Muslims are finding a justification for recognizing, observing, or celebrating, whatever term you want to use, right? Or celebrating them, right? And it's starting with the easiest ones or the ones that the proof isn't so blatantly obvious against it. That those holidays or celebrations or observances, those are the ones that the Muslims are starting to find justifications of observing and all that kind of stuff. But even now, not just here, but even in the Muslim world, I mean, the worst of them is, Muslims are celebrating them. They're celebrating Christmas, celebrating Halloween. I remember when I was living in New York City, at least not the African Americans that I knew of, but I remember being in a neighborhood in Brooklyn where there was a lot of Arabs living there, and I seen, them taking their children trick or treating. Right, and so I see a lot of people usually like to look at it, it's haram or it's not haram, and there's a lot of ways, different angles you can look at it, but something deeper is happening here. That basically we are assimilating. Our Islamic practice is like declining, just in general across the board, whether you be black or immigrant, whatever, it's just declining. If you've been Muslim long enough, it's clear for you to see, right? And so it's not just only that we're not coming to the masjid like we used to. It's not only that we're missing Juma more than we used to. It's just everything across the board is declining, everything. And so we just basically becoming Americans, just like doing whatever Americans do. And the Islamic resistance that would normally be there to resist that is just going away. So you're going to find more Muslims. It is amazing. You're going to find more Muslims celebrating or observing or recognizing these holidays or observances more than you did 20, 30 years ago. And it ain't really because of anything technical. Everybody's just doing what everybody else does. It ain't because they got some fatwa or some new understanding. It ain't got nothing to do with that. They just doing what everybody else does. They just gave up. Like we used to say, like in New York, you used to have the radio station, WBLS. Mr. Magic used to come on, and one of his sayings used to say, resistance over, hold on, what he used to say? It just left my mind that quick. Persistence overcomes resistance. Persistence overcomes resistance. See, we were resisting these things, but they are persistent and advocating and pushing. It's part of the culture here. You insisted, right? And so it overcame the resistance of the Muslims, and a lot of Muslims just gave up. And psychologically, the way we accepted all of that is just little bit by little, right? Okay, well, it's celebrating my birthday, it's no harm in that, I'm just thanking Allah for another year being here, right? So we have a justification for that. Thanksgiving, well, the real Muslims overseas, in the Arab lands, they celebrate, they call it Yom Shukr, the day of thanks, right? Shouldn't Muslims be thankful every day? We just being thankful on this day. And plus, most of us are off of work, so we get to spend time with our family. It's family time, right? And so, okay, so that's the justification for that. And, Valentine's Day. Oh, I can't love my wife, Aki. You're supposed to be romantic with your wife. Chocolate haram, right? Yomul Hub, the day of love, right? And so, I want to show my wife something good. I want to buy some chocolate. It's a hard haram, Aki. It's haram to eat chocolate on February 14th. It's haram, Aki, right? so now we do Valentine's Day, right? And it's the same thing with each and every one. It's the same thing. And I remember a few years ago, when Rabiul Awwal, which is the birth that many of us believe that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was born, we know that was the month in which he died in, right? Rabiul Awwal and Christmas coincided. Oh, you don't believe what I saw on Facebook, different posts. Like, okay, so we celebrating the birth of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Don't Allah say in the Quran that you shouldn't raise one prophet over another? So if we celebrate the birth of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, why shouldn't we celebrate the birth of Jesus, Isa Alaihi Salam? He's one of the great prophets too, right? So I'm celebrating the birth of Isa. Milad al-Isa. So that's their justification that year of celebrating Christmas, right? So it just goes on and on and on. Happy New Year! All right? And shouldn't we be happy? It's a new year. It's a new beginning. We renew our intentions, right? It ain't got nothing to do with fiqh, halal, and haram. It's really what's happening is that we are assimilating. We are blending in with everyone else. And if there's any Muslim here or there that will challenge it, right, then they have these justifications. And I can't eat turkey on Thursday. Well, what if I eat my turkey on Wednesday? Right? This is the type of argument that you hear people say. So you mean to tell me that turkey is haram on Thursday, on the last Thursday in November, because kuffar eat turkey on the last Thursday, November. But it's halal if I save that turkey for Juma, then it becomes halal, right? So it's these kind of sarcastic arguments that people have with each other. And nobody's paying attention to what's really going on. These same people, watch, these same people who justify and have all of these, sarcastic justifications for doing these things. When it comes time for Eid, they're at work, right? Well, Imam, can we just follow calculations this year so we can do the Eid on the weekend? Right? We got to follow the moon this time, right? And so, and so, when Eid comes, right, or Juma comes, right, which is in Islam, right, which is legislated by Allah and His Messenger. You know, nobody's going to ask you for a proof on celebrating Eid. That much energy, that much excuses, that much preparation is not done for Eid anymore. So all over the country, the attendance at Eid Salat is down, especially when it falls on a work day, because it's not that important anymore. It's really what's really going on is not American, and it's going to cause me some inconvenience to do the Eid. And persistence overcomes resistance. I don't have any more fight in me, so I'm not going to the Eid. Is the Eid Salat wajib? It's highly recommended sunnah, you say, right? It's not wajib. Okay. You said not wajib, right? Well, it's kind of wajib because it's one of the 5 prayers. No. Well, okay. So I'm going to work. I'm going to work, right? And so what really is we just melting into the culture. We just finding intellectual excuses to justify it. We are tired of fighting. We are tired of, trying to establish Islam because it's an uphill battle, it's a fight, and we just tired. It's just easier to do what everybody else is doing. And if somebody in a Muslim community asks me, I'm going to give a justification for doing so. Everybody's off, I'm going to be off too, right? So I'm going to do what they do. That's really what's going on. And it ain't got nothing to do with halal, haram, imitating the kuffar. I mean, all of these things play a part in it, but people are doing it. And this is just my opinion. You can agree or disagree. But from the time that I've been Muslim, people are just tired of fighting. I know some Muslims that have been Muslim longer than me, and I just look at them. They've given up. I'm just tired, man. I just want to go home, go to work, come home, take care of my family, not gung ho no more like I used to be, burnt out. So that's what I think it is. I don't think it got anything to do with, this is how in my opinion, it's something deeper, and it's us being here. And it takes work. It takes active. That's why you can't be passive Muslim, not in this environment. Being a passive Muslim will be, it's okay in a land where everything's established and, the weekend is not Saturday and Sunday. The weekend is Friday and Saturday or Thursday and Friday. And, Juma is, considered the weekend and all of these things. The system there, the way the system works, the way the government and the country operates, it's built around Islam. Even if the people aren't the best Muslims, it's still built around Islam. And so it's easier to be a passive Muslim there. You don't have to do anything. You can just do what everybody else do, and you could be a good Muslim. Here, nothing here is accommodating. If you at work, you got to go through all types of gymnastics just to pray. You got to let them know I'm Muslim, and then based on the type of person you are, all that kind of stuff, you want to tell them straight up, or you want to get the job first and then tell them, and then, okay, you want me to work on Friday? Well, I need Juma off, and it's just too much. In a Muslim country, you ain't got to deal with all that. You understand you're Muslim, right? Just go to Juma, right? Everything, we don't think about these things because a lot of us don't travel. So, we don't really recognize the effect that living in a country where everything that Islam tells us to do, it's an uphill battle to do here. We don't recognize that it's a fight and it's a struggle just to do the prayers and have a job. Because you might pray and have to lose it. You're gonna have to lose your job. Or for a sister to know the cover. Wearing the kimar or an overgarment is a struggle. She may lose her job and all that. Forget about how people looking at you. That's another challenge on top of that. And brothers go through that challenge. And so you find a lot of brothers don't wear kufis, don't wear thobes anymore. Not because they don't want to wear it. Just a lot of them are just tired of being strange. Man. Like everybody looking at me and tired of explaining what type of hat this is. Just just tired, man. Just want to fit in. That's the ayat. I mean, it's a hadith. Tuba lil ghuraba, glad tidings to the strangers. So this stuff is a fight. A lot of times we don't think about it, but for a lot of us, walking outside of our house is an uphill battle. The way you look, the things you try to stay away from, just everything. Just nowadays. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holiday. How you going to respond to that? A lot of people are just tired of that, man. I give up, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Merry Christmas to you too. They just tired, man. People just burnt out, man. A lot of people just like, Merry Christmas. Oh, well, see, they don't have that conversation. I don't celebrate Christmas. Then if you get a little bit more knowledge, you don't want to wish disbelievers. You don't want to give them a greeting that encourages them in their holiday, especially when it involves shirt, right? So you're like, oh man, just too much, man. Oh man, Merry Christmas. Oh, how should I respond? Oh my God. I would say happy holiday, but I want you to be blessed to become Muslim. But I want you, but I can't say that. I don't wish bad between you. But I give up. Merry Christmas. Yeah. Right. That stuff we go through all the time because we're outnumbered and we watching. I've been Muslim 30 years. There's people who have been been Muslim 60 years, right? A lot of people just burnt out. They don't have no fight in them. This is the way I see it. So this is just one manifestation of it. It's connected to why people, in my opinion, it's connected why people, brothers don't fight to go to Juma anymore. They have any excuse not to go to Juma. These same brothers, you would have caught them 20 years ago, they would have walked off a job if they would have told them I ain't going to Juma. What? No, I'm just informing you that I'm going to Juma. You threaten me in my job, oh, here's your uniform, right? I'm going to Juma. It's just whether you're going to like it or not, that's your business, but I'm going to Juma. These same brothers right now, no Juma. They gave up. The fight that they had in them 20 years ago is gone. The persistence overcame their resistance. They ain't got no more fight left in them. Same brothers that not in Juma now because of work, same brother 20 years ago, he would have looked at you like you insulted them if you would have asked him if he's eating Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner or whatever. Like, yo, I'm Muslim, Mālikī. What? Now, right now, if he hasn't had it already, he got the turkey and cranberry sauce. By the way, I like turkey and cranberry sauce. And stuffing too, by the way. Right? But right now, it's Thursday, right? He right now, he may be watching or watch this later. You're saying it's haram today. Well, it's going to be halal tomorrow, though, but it ain't haram today, right? That's him right now. He's doing that. 20 years ago, he wouldn't have went there. He would have thought you were insulting him if you asked him if he had a Thanksgiving dinner. You ask that same Muslim, well, what changed between 20 years ago and now? You found some more proof. He ain't gonna be able to explain it to you. What he may not want to admit to himself is he just tired of fighting. It's just easier to go with the flow. It's not like nobody's forcing you. It's just that everybody's doing it. Why do I have to be the odd one out, right? It's like peer pressure. Peer pressure that kids go through in school ain't just like, hey, come here. Want to get high? Right? Remember the corny commercials back in the day? Right. Hey, come here. Want to do some drugs? Right? No, it's just everyone's doing it. You not doing it. There's pressure there that you feel. Even if the people don't want to force it on you. So like, oh, okay, let me get ahead. Come on. Right. It's the same thing. Peer pressure don't stop when you grow up. Everybody, all of our peers, everyone around us is doing something. We feel a pressure by not doing it. We just give up. Then we get older and we have children, and the children want to ask you, why can't we do what all the other children is doing? Right? It don't stop. It's just pressure, pressure, pressure. And so that's my opinion. That's why people is doing what they do. That's why we need a revival. We need tajdeed. We need to have some brothers that will stand up and beat them strangers. Like, listen, man, you want to do something else? We hanging out at the masjid. We're going to do this. We don't always have to get together to learn, right? But, you know, we kick it, do something, whatever. Just everybody else just, you know, doing what they're doing. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Now, we ain't pray yet. We're going to pray in a minute. Can someone call it done? We was here kicking it and lost track of time, inshallah. Uh-oh. My wife probably mad at me. Oh, because I might be late for the Half Your Deen show. I need to get out of here. May Allah bless all of you for attending the session and benefiting. We pray that with some benefit for you all in here. Alhamdulillah. If I offended anybody, that wasn't my intention. Those things that I just said, they're my opinion. They're not revelation. You know, you can accept it or leave it, or take it or leave it. Alhamdulillah, this is just my opinion based upon my observation. May Allah bless all of you. And this is Yawmul Jum'ah. Don't forget to recite Surah Al-Kahf, chapter number 18, before Jum'ah is out. You can start reciting tonight if you want. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت واستغفرك وأتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.